Will China retaliate by selling US bonds or not? Not just with words or counter tariffs, but real pain in the bond market.
Yeah, I genuinely love the accent. Have you guys never heard an Indian guy before? There's like 1.5 billion people who would speak with this accent if they spoke English, which some of them do. I have to dial it down a little bit because sometimes I'm reminded that I am a American who spent my whole life living in like big cities, basically. So when I hear a guy with like an Indian accent or a like a Albanian accent or like a Greek accent or a Nigerian accent or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah.
Now, a move like this could serve as a powerful financial market deterrent, much like weakening of the yuan's daily fixing. I mean, the last fix, not today's, but yesterday's fix showed that China is willing to tolerate lower yuan to increase the competitiveness for its goods. When you dump bonds, yields shoot up. It will raise the cost of funding for US government. And of course, send that message that don't take our restraint for granted. Such a move, and how big is China's holdings of US government bonds? Let's just take a quick look. The last number I have is this. China holds, and if you can move the graphic along, is about China's holding of US bonds is about $760 billion. That is, just pure China. There are some reports which suggest that, you have to take some proxy holdings, etc., and then it becomes over 1 trillion, but direct holding about $760 billion. This graphic is also interesting. China's ownership of US government bonds as a percentage of total foreign ownership of US treasuries is about 8.9% now. What was the peak? It was 28% in 2011. Remember,
that's not too surprising, I don't think, that China would have diversified a bit since then. This is one of the reasons why I've been saying, like, China is better prepared for the trade war than we are. We are utterly dependent on them. China has been trying to build out trade relationships beyond us,
Foreign investors own about 30% of the entire US debt. So, these are very large numbers, and that's the reason why this comes up off and on. Now, the point also is this. If China decides to sell, US of course hurts. But China also hurts simply because it is one of the largest holders. A fire sale could devalue its own reserves. This is basically quite similar to how a large shareholder in a...
Not to engage in a form of, like, I don't know, callous Orientalism, but I feel like China could survive the devaluing of its currency by quite a bit. Like, I could be wrong on that, but I feel like the way their economy is structured, they could handle that relatively well. Certainly compared to us. What do you mean by that? Well, basically our entire economy is hinged on us not building anything, but us being able to buy everything in the world. Because our currency is so powerful. The US dollar is so insanely powerful. Like, it's the most, more powerful than any comparable, like, nothing has ever been like this. We are the, like, kings of this kind of economy. They make the stuff, we buy it with our super powerful currency. So much of our domestic and foreign economic policy is oriented around maintaining a high value for our dollar, This is one of the... Have you ever wondered how a country like, say, Turkey can have like 80% inflation and still basically exist year after year? Have you ever wondered that? Like, how does it, like, a country like Turkey, Argentina, not Greece because the EU, but like there are countries that consistently have really high inflation, and then they're like fine. Like, they're not doing good with that really high inflation, but they're like holding it together basically. We're the ones who are uniquely vulnerable to inflation because we're the ones who are completely committed to the persistent strength of our dollar. That's not really the case with China. What makes our currency value high? Global reserve currency. The fact that we engage in trade in the way we do. Every country is really, 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 really invested in maintaining the value of the US dollar because they hold so much of our currency in their treasury. They hold so much of our debt. So if our dollar devalues, that devalues their holdings. Everyone wants to keep the USD as a global, like, reference point for currency. We're, like, kind of essential for a lot of international trade, So as a consequence of all of that, like the dollar has to stay really, really, really consistent. It's not really a matter of overestimating China. It's just their economy isn't really as reliant on maintaining a powerful currency. No, whatever. Yap, yap, yap. You know how I am.
记得关注我。